3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
Good morning. It was cold this morning. It was cold this morning.
Brisk.
So brisk is an iced tea. It was cold this morning. Welcome to Grok Talk. It is Saturday, September 26th. This is our last studio show for several weeks, so hopefully we'll pull it off. And everything else will work when we're on the road. If you heard it in the news read, next week we will be at the Southern New Hampshire University for a Federalism Forum. After that, the Republican Liberty Caucus Convention in Nashua. The week after that, we will be at the 603 Alliance Summit Caucus in Hopkinton. And then the week after that, Area 23 here in Concord for Kirk McNeil and Kevin Bloom at their establishment, where we will be broadcasting live. I'm still waiting on confirmation for that, but I got the initial thumbs up. So, and then the 31st, we may be back in studio. Because I haven't booked anything yet. But hey, it's still September, so you never know. But we are here this week. Don't forget to check us out on The Rock, nhcr.com. It's an internet radio station. Lots of music 24/7. Speak, talk, radio, Christian music, and us. So we're also on Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Ustream, and of course, at GraniteGrok.com. So today we have Ian and Jody Underwood coming in.
Yeah, and if you want to make a donation, because we need to revamp some of our technical architecture, you can hit the donate button on GraniteGrok.com, or
you can go to patreon.com /GrokTalk.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to...
I forgot the name.
And I think I'm going to try something on Indiegogo.
Okay.
I got kicked off a Kickstarter. They don't like us.
I wouldn't imagine that they would. I know we were talking about that on a couple other sites, and I never went to them because I knew that they would just say, "No, you can't fundraise here. You're not appropriate." Blah 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 blah.
You're not a suitable person.
Right? You're not a suitable person.
They actually said that.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
So
they said
we
don't...
denied you your pistol revolver license. Anyway.
Oh no, that starts next month.
Jody and Ian Underwood are coming in. We're going to talk about Croydon. They are ignoring the Attorney General, which is what most people should do. We'll go over that with regard to school choice. And then we're going to have them stay in for a second segment to talk about all kinds of cool things, whatever they want to discuss, because they're really, really smart people and they have smart things to say, and we want to share that with you. Until then, we have to fill some time. Jane Cormier has joined us from New Hampshire Right to Life.
Hello.
Happy to have you on the program.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Hey, Jane, I'm going to ask you to just schlep your seat over that way just a little bit.
Seat? Okay.
Yeah, you're being hid by his head.
Oh.
Seat
Yeah, we want your profile and the Grok poster clearly on camera.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
It will be when Skip adjusts the cameras.
So what's new at New Hampshire Right to Life?
Oh, man, there are so many things going on right now with life in New Hampshire. It's overwhelming and hopeful all at the same time. How's that? We have a big gala banquet happening Thursday, October 8th at the Executive Court
40 Days
banquet.
for Life started
Absolutely.
a couple days ago.
Yeah, I got that here too. At the banquet, we have Josh Edmonds, who is from Georgia Right to Life. He's a young man that really has a lot of zest and has a great presentation, upbeat presentation. So he's going to be our special speaker for the banquet. And if anybody has interest in it, we're still taking, I believe, reservations into next week, and they can just go to www.nhrtl.org and get some information. That's going to be fun. That'll be my first one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
As chair.
As chair.
As head of the group.
Yeah. I also want to put out there that on Tuesday night in Concord, and in front of the State House, Planned Parenthood is having a counter-protest to stand up to these nasty people that want to defund their organization.
That's MoveOn.org and a bunch of other lefty groups are
growing together.
Are doing this thing to support Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
They're going to be at the State House, 8 p.m.
8
Tuesday
p.m.
night.
Yes, 8 p.m. inside the Plaza State
If
House.
you just happen to be walking past the
Yes.
State House and you accidentally congregate on the sidewalk,
accidentally pick up a sign.
yeah,
you
find
know-
a sign.
Just keep moving. And by the
Absolutely.
way, I wish to correct you on one little part of what you said.
What is it?
And that you describe people who are pro-life from the aspect of what the Planned Parenthood, the baby killers think. They think people like us are nasty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were wrong. We are not nasty. We are evil.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So there's a range.
It literally is that divide. Because, one, we're painted as cold-hearted because we don't want to be part of the communitarianism that seems to be springing up, that we're all in this together. But the fact that you won't put women first because they just totally get rid of the idea of what a fetus is. It's
Right.
just mere tissue.
Yep.
So you are evil, Jane. Evil.
No. You know what, Skip?
For protecting babies.
I have to disagree with you. I'll tell you from doing this, I'll disagree with that premise just a little bit. I get exactly what you're talking about. However, having been in the trenches and having spoken to so many, there is a definite percentage, and it's not a small percentage, that are exactly what you say, Nazis, and cannot even they cannot even comprehend the other side of the story. But I'll tell you what, why I say it's hopeful, and I know that people might think I'm Pollyanna. I've spoken to a ton of people, many, many people that believe misinformation and have believed what they've been given for all 35, 40 years on this subject. And those people are different. And they are not the minority in the people that are supporting Planned Parenthood.
I will agree with that because for the longest time I was one of those uninformed people who didn't didn't want to pay enough attention to politics to be able to engage in it. So it was safer just to say, I don't talk about that. I don't know about that.
It's settled.
No. I wasn't even there with the settled thing. It's just it was don't talk about abortion, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics.
You're right.
Just stick to other subjects because I wasn't trained properly to understand them, and I didn't know how to debate, and I didn't have any of those skills. I didn't, I was basically whatever the media told me. I was pro-abortion, I was pro-choice.
Right, which sounds
good. And so until I learned, and then I decided to have my own opinion instead of the one that I had been fed.
That's right.
And I became a lifer.
And this is why, the Students for Life organization in this country, Skip, and we even have one now in New Hampshire, is growing leaps and bounds. If everybody and there was a point where you're correct, they held the left had such a stranglehold on this issue that everybody was just painted in that same color. But this young generation, wow, dare I say, gives me hope because you know what? They're figuring out the lie they have been told because of technology, because of the ability to see that baby at 8 weeks with organs present.
Well, that's where the what is it? Progress in
Center for Medical Progress.
And all those videos that come out have helped.
Yes.
But Steve, you talked about I believed what the media told me, and that comes back to what you had said about that small group. It's not so much a small group that actually drove the narrative that drives the mainstream media.
That's correct.
That comes out. And look, one of the things that we as Republicans, almost every single Republican platform in the country affirms life. And yet there were 8 Republicans, including Kelly Ayotte, that decided to vote with the Democrats. So here we go. Kelly Ayotte votes with Jeanne Shaheen.
Again, yeah.
So Kelly Ayotte, Scott Brown,
right.
Jeanne Shaheen, these 2 Republicans trying to out abortion, Jeanne Shaheen, who is the biggest, one of the biggest of that
I
minority.
think the seventh highest money maker in her she's the seventh highest political figure making the most money from the pro-abortion lobby in this country.
Yeah,
They're
so-
the biggest.
Which means that Jean Shaheen is directly funded by baby parts. Let's not mince.
Absolutely.
They are her
They're
biggest
mincing
funder.
babies. We won't mince words.
Narrow has given her close to what, $1 million?
yeah.
It's a lot of
It
money.
might be 1.2 million.
So
I forget.
Kelly Ayotte voting to help kill babies is my WTF of the moment. Thank you for reminding me that, because just before you came
it was in the newsread.
it was in the news.
Can I tell you that?
Because it wasn't worth going to a government shutdown to do this.
Well, that's the
We're
political
going to continue
canard.
to fight them in the courts and lose.
Yeah, but that's a lie. Didn't the House separate that out? I thought they
Well, they're
separated
having a vote,
it.
I believe, Monday.
They separated
in a
out
clean
the
bill.
planning, the defunding of Planned Parenthood from the actual other portion of the shutdown.
You know, if I was Boehner, the other reason to resign is no matter when he does the right thing, McConnell undercuts him anyway.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's no
and,
loss
and
there
again,
anyway.
let me remind people that NHGOP committee man
Steve
Steve
Dupree.
Dupree.
Dupree is one who gave money to Narrow
Yes, every year.
Action
Steve
Fund.
Baby Parts Dupree.
Well,
Steve,
how does he
Baby
feel
Parts
about?
Dupree.
I often wonder how he feels about that donation now that he has seen these hideous videos, showing what they're perpetuating over there. It's mind blowing to
The
me.
correct answer is he didn't see them.
Yeah,
Well,
that could
and,
be.
and the question
be.
is, does he at this point regret it, and is he willing to stand up and say so? Because
No.
we'd be happy to hear from him if he would.
No, he
won't.
He's not, because with the exposure and that, just like Jim Foley had to go around and do the all New Hampshire apology for basically lying about his
Didn't
background.
work.
Didn't work. Too
I'm
well.
a scumbag. D-bag.
Yeah.
D-bag.
So
Okay.
Steve Dupree had to do the same thing, get on his knees and go to everywhere. And if he had had a change of heart,
Yeah.
we would have seen that.
No,
But
absolutely. Having met with him privately, I can tell you that he is staunch pro-choice, sees that as something that's his position, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it, that's not going to change, and he said it. So I believe him.
And we have to stop calling it pro-choice.
Oh, I know.
Let's call it what it really is.
That's-
Pro-abortion, because of all...
Pro-abortion, you're right.
Here's another part of this.
Pro-death.
Yeah, let's call
Thousands
it
of-
the Freedom to Murder Act.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thousands, if not millions of women called Planned Parenthood and asked, can I schedule a mammogram? Yes, giving lie to what the Planned Parenthood supporters and advocates have said for years and years and years.
I was
We
waving
give
at you.
mammograms.
Yes.
I thought you
Zero.
were.
Yes,
Zero.
zero. They don't do mammograms.
No, they
I'm
don't.
not the one talking.
No, you're not. And now you won't be. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. This is Grok Talk.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now, at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Sometimes we come up with the best material while we're on a 40-second break.
Yeah.
This is Grok Talk. Steve McDonald, Jane Cormier, Mike Rogers, Skip Murphy, and Black Lives Matter.
And I've also heard that if we defund Planned Parenthood, it will have a material effect on the nation's economy.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be about 300,000 more black children every year who will contribute to the
Oh,
economy.
now, come on now. Don't go there.
Oh, no. That's if they kill them.
Yeah.
No, but if we
What a
don't,
crazy-
but if we stop funding Planned Parenthood and they don't kill all those black
Look.
babies,
All right, well,
the
anyway,
economy
there's-
will grow faster.
There's a context for this.
Yes.
Why don't you read what you read on the break that made us all laugh, and then
Yeah.
I'll say what I said.
Yesterday, Narrow, in its desperation, sent out a tweet making the case for Planned Parenthood for America as a wing of the Black Lives Matter
God, that
movement,
is
and sent a picture of two activists holding a Black Lives Matter sign at a Planned Parenthood
How can they
sign.
lie like that? Oh my God, they should just drop dead anybody that can lie like that.
They even stated the following. The Republican fight to block funding for Planned Parenthood is a fight with black lives at stake. How right they are.
Yeah, in the wrong direction.
But not in the way they think.
No kidding.
And what did I say?
Yeah.
Matter is a noun.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
sad.
You know,
I mean, how could we have the message so backward? The fact is that so many babies are being killed from the black community. Like, crazy numbers. And it's the, I don't want to say Republicans, but it's the conservatives that are trying to let people understand that black lives do matter.
Yeah.
And Planned Parenthood is not their friend.
Yeah, most Planned Parenthood
no,
clinics
it's
are
not.
located in black neighborhoods.
for a very good reason,
Minority
because
local.
Margaret Sanger wants it to kill more black babies.
Location.
Right.
Very sad.
And one kind person put out a poster that says at the bottom, too many, and I suspect it's been around a while. Number one killer in black communities is not 5,000 and odd HIV deaths, 8,000 and odd homicides, 12,000 diabetes deaths, 12,000 accidental deaths, 60,000 cancer deaths, or 70,000 heart disease deaths. It is the 363,000 deaths of black lives via Planned Parenthood.
Isn't that horrifying? Absolutely horrifying. What do you do with that?
The other WTF is the invasion of Europe by a majority young male Islamists.
Yep.
And here's something I just got from Instapundit, because I wrote about something similar. The Camp of the Saints is just a novel. Right, guys? Right, guys? Rape and child abuse are rife in German refugee camps. Unsegregated conditions blamed as women are seen as fair game in overcrowded migrant centers. In Muslim communities, women are definitely second or third status citizens. They're almost property. And we can go into all kinds of stuff about how women are treated there. We can also talk about the refugees and the migrants and the immigrants in Europe that have settled into neighborhoods where this has been known for years. In Sweden, my my ancestors' home country, there are places where the Swedish girls are really in big trouble. They are seen as fair game.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing
They
it
could
again.
always arm themselves. Oh, sorry.
They can't. They can't. But here you see a whole civilization saying we must take them in, when this new civilization being brought in has nothing to do with Western classical liberal values.
Absolutely none. And it doesn't want to assimilate.
No,
Therein
it doesn't.
lies the problem.
And now Obama wants to push Muslim
What a surprise.
immigrants to $200,000 a year, all by himself, without the approval of Congress.
And he will, because it's been happening since day one, under the table with his little pen. So the irony here is life and this invasion, because it is an invasion, don't seem connected. They are connected because we have administrative, huge, bloated government throwing on us edicts that most people in this country do not want to have. And unfortunately, until the voices start coming, there was this wonderful, I went to some meeting. There are so many meetings and events happening right now. I can't remember where it was.
You can't keep
but
up.
You can't keep up. Somebody mentioned something that life, the people that are in the groups of life, it's a large choir, but there aren't many singers. And unfortunately, the choir will never have a great song if we cannot get the singers that are there to sing. And I thought, what a great analogy, especially, coming from a music background, right? This is what's happening. We're here. 74% doesn't agree in abortion in this country. We stay quiet. That's why the left has made gains, and that's why New Hampshire Right to Life has been so active. Sometimes it's one-on-one, sometimes it's going to 200-300 people, but we have to activate the voices to sing.
Yeah, I was at Sunday, as well as you, Jane. We were at NHCCS, National Heritage Center for Constitutional Studies. Dr. Edwin Vieira of Harvard gave a wonderful, if long, talk about the administrative state. Exactly what you're saying. Unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats telling us what to do. This is, without representation. Yeah. I urge people to go to it on GraniteRock.com. It's all up now.
Very good speech.
It's lengthy. Yeah. It's academic, but it talks to the heart of the matter of
the fourth state we have.
Yeah, fourth state. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was talking about. I'm going to talk about Germany and their fundamental mistakes. They've made a couple of fundamental mistakes. The first problem is treating the incoming Muslims as people. Yes, right. Treating them as people. They're putting them in camps constructed on the premise that they are normal Western people who will behave in normal Western ways according to their own customs. They think that they can have a non-segregated camp because the people will behave themselves. It simply isn't true.
As I just read.
As Skip just said, the Muslims won't behave themselves. They will mistreat the women and children. And if you don't want your native German population to be horrified, you should have segregated camps. So they treated them as normal people. Wrong. Second, I'm going to get a lot of crap for that.
No,
it's bolstered by the first
Crap is good for traffic.
first sergeant in Special Forces Army that after 11 years of service, he is getting thrown out November 1st because he stood up to an Afghan police captain who had just buggered a little boy.
Yeah.
And now it's making the rounds in the conservative blogosphere about this
Why
practice.
won't we stand up for this guy? Look at the service he gave this nation.
Yeah.
And
Because we need
he's
more
gonna
than
get
us.
chucked and thrown out on his ass.
Well, look at that kid who at California High School or school that defended the blind kid.
Yeah.
And then so the school suspended him because they have a zero tolerance policy.
Yeah, otherwise you can't fight back.
But this
You know,
guy,
So
this-
yeah,
this-
poor
this
helpless
soldier.
kid's getting his ass kicked. You come over and save him. One punch. You're out of here.
Right. Well, I always say to the kids or grandkids, defend yourselves anyway.
Absolutely.
Do the maximum damage to the aggressor, and we'll deal with the school.
Yeah,
That's what I tell my son.
I told my kids the same thing, and it happened once. The principal,
What are you supposed to do? Empower your kid to sit there and take it?
The principal
It's
was
nuts.
not happy with me.
I'm sure.
Yeah, when the principal gets unhappy, say, if you think it's so important that punch doesn't land, why don't you get in the middle and take the damn punch?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so what else did Germany do wrong? This, and I was listening to Rush from a couple of weeks back. This is the piece that takes the cake. Angela Merkel says that Germany is going to take 800,000 of these immigrants this year and 500,000 a year for the indefinite future, and it will change our country.
Yeah, well,
Boy, is she right, but not the way she thinks. But do you know why she's doing that? Because the German society, resting in its hammock in its welfare state, except for the few factory workers that are supporting everybody, has reached the point where nobody's reproducing.
Right.
Yes, their economy won't produce enough money
Right.
to support the retirees in the welfare state unless they bring in more workers. Now, fundamental mistake here. Do you think these people are going to contribute to the economy? Because most of them aren't.
Yeah, as I pointed out here, they aren't. And yet you do have to see in Germany, now there a lot of the Slavic countries that are surrounding the EU, they're shutting their borders.
God
They're
bless
putting
them.
And I hope they start shooting.
poor
'cause
Hungary.
these people,
Hungary is really trying to do the right thing.
yeah, I hope they
And
start shooting. These,
they're
these,
But
just
it's
yeah.
and it comes down to the principal question is, what is a country for? Now, I know that there are people here who want us totally open borders. It's like, at that point, we don't have a country.
There is no country.
Like Milton Friedman said, you can either have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You can't have both at the same time because then you will cease to exist. And that's what we're seeing with Germany. I mean, it is a case of most civilizations fall from within.
Yeah.
You look back at the Roman times with the Visigoths coming down from the north.
45 seconds.
I'm not going to be able to finish.
Well, the big thing with Germany,
Self-dissolution.
the big
Yeah.
problem with Germany is that they're reproducing 7-1 to the European. So one generation, Germany's gone because that one Muslim family will have almost 6.8 kids to the one European. They're done. That's just how it is, and that's what's been happening. That's why they come in and they take over the countries.
And that has been said in New Jersey at a school board
It's true.
meeting by the Muslims who
She was right.
Who said we will soon be the majority and then we'll get our holiday from school.
And let us go back to the Hungarian-Turkish border.
Let's go quickly.
We can do it afterwards.
We're going to have to do it at 10:30 then.
Yeah.
Assuming our guests show up.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Grok Talk. We'll be right back, hopefully with Jody and Ian Underwood, who are probably looking for parking in lovely downtown Concord. We will be right back.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at gerardatlarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
From the CNHT studios in Concord, New Hampshire, just a few blocks from the New Hampshire State House, this is
Rock Talk.
Three, two, one.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from granitegrok.com.
Rock Talk.
Hi there. Sorry, I was. He was talking. I was texting the guy at the Rock and HCR.com.
Well, I got the recording camera. Hopefully, I can take that out and put it up. Sometimes, as you said earlier, our intervals are more heated than on air.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, Ian and Jody are probably stuck in parking. Hopefully, they'll get here a little bit. And until then, let's just keep going.
Yeah. So let's consider what's happening. At the Hungarian border, and why I say, being the revolutionary bum that I am, why don't the Hungarians just start shooting? That'll turn them back. Because look, they're coming out of Syria. First of all, why are they coming out of Syria?
But most of them aren't Syrians.
No.
That's the thing. They're only 1 in 20 are now coming out of Syria.
Which means some of them are coming actually from Turkey, and some of them are coming from Iraq and even Iran and
Afghanistan.
Anybody that can manage to cross the land bridge. And the question is, in the middle is this huge country called Turkey, and they ain't stopping there. Why are they not stopping there? The Turks are a lot more like them than Europe is, and that Turkey's a reasonably wealthy country and somewhat friendly. It is, after all, an Islamic country.
Big. It's got open spaces.
Why aren't they stopping there? This has to be an invasion, and therefore, why shouldn't the Hungarians and the Romanians, whose borders are being attacked, in the Czech Republic, start shooting? These people are not tourists. They don't have passports and visas. They have no right to enter. And if they won't go back when told, at some point, some of them got to die so the others get the message.
Yeah, well, I think it was Senator Stabenow, Democrat from Michigan, who said, well, we should be taking more refugees in. Look at all the room we have in flyover country. Now, you and I fly. I used to fly a lot more. I have to get back on the plane soon. But we fly over. There's a lot of space there. Technically, she's correct. But look at what this progressive senator says. Let it be somebody else's problem here in America. Because flyover country, when it comes out of people like her and the other Democrat socialists, when they say flyover country, they mean it in a demeaning, pejorative way. Those redneck American rubes. Let them be the problem. And in fact, some of these social organizations keep dumping refugees here in New Hampshire, the Lutheran Social Services folks. Well, we help them when they first get here. Yeah, you dump them after a year when the money runs out, and then you dump them onto somebody else's welfare rolls and make it somebody else's problem. And this is the problem. One of the big problems with progressivism. It's always somebody else's problem.
If you put a minimum legal residency requirement in front of any welfare payouts here in New Hampshire, we're not going to pay out the damn money unless you've been here and actually had a job and put something in. And we'll make them somebody else's problem. And we'll make them self-deport from New Hampshire, at least.
I bet Debbie Stepanow's got room in her house.
I bet she has. I bet we know Martha Fuller Clark has room in her house.
Yes, she does. Good point. It could be the historic refugee district of Portsmouth.
Right. But the point is, Dearbornistan is already a wreck. So, dear Debbie, let's do this. Let's fence off Michigan, and especially Detroit, from the rest of the country, and you can have all of them you want.
Yeah. Well, I like what the Pope had to say, where he's telling all of his parishioners, you should take somebody in. And I keep thinking, and I'm not Catholic, folks, so I can say this, how many refugees has the Vatican taken in? They've got among the most rigorous immigration and visa policies in the world.
Because it is a Catholic city-state, it is not. It is not a place that welcomes immigrants.
No,
because
it isn't.
Because it doesn't need to.
And I hate to say it, but here's somebody high up. One would consider him at least a religious elite, certainly, if not also a political elite. And trust me, the Catholic Church is political. That's its history. If you go back in time and read that history, when he says everybody take them in. How many young Muslim males are you going to bring into your apartment, sir? Or your eminence? This is what gets me. Progressives want everyone else to take care of that. When you look at Christians, they do this on their own on an individual basis. That's what real charity is.
That's the difference between the Good Samaritan, for example, and
Yes.
government coercion.
Correct.
Somebody who steps up to the plate and does it themselves. And that's what's completely wrong with the welfare state.
Absolutely, because there's very little accountability. And, you look at... Oh, gosh, I could just keep going on and on and on.
And don't forget that Denmark learned the lesson where they took out advertisements in Middle Eastern countries saying the welfare payouts for newly arrived immigrants has been cut by 50%. Don't come here.
Yeah, I think it's rather amusing that in all the years that the EU has been being put together, because what the EU elite want to do is get rid of the national borders within the EU. But they've said, we'll do free. If you get to one of our countries, you can travel wherever you want within the EU, yada, 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 yada. Well, the Camp of the Saints has gone from the printed page into real life, if you've ever read that book. And now all of a sudden, like we said, all of a sudden the borders are starting to get slammed shut.
Yes, they are.
And the countries that, Angela Merkel, like you said, and let's see, Germany, France, and there was one other country who basically said every country has to take a quota, which, by the way, it seems like these three countries would be setting for everybody else. And there's Britain at the tunnel saying, no, you're not. No.
Yeah.
And some of the smaller states are saying, no, we will not be bullied.
Yeah.
And they are
David
now saying,
Cameron will actually be lynched if he takes too many in. I think the people have had it.
Yeah, and I do think this is, other than the Greece or the Grexit, with the problem with the EU, this is an existential event for the European Union, whereby, we're all in this together. Not so much. They aren't at all. They're just separate separate nations trying to be stitched together, and this is going to shatter it, I think.
Yeah, it's not a common culture. The reason the United States worked, and may not be working any longer, is because it was a common culture and the common work ethic that spread across the state borders. So you could have sovereign states with a federal government guaranteeing the free passage of goods and people across those borders, which is what the Commerce Department's supposed to be for, and it would all work. But eventually the culture has split to the point where maybe that won't work forever. And in Europe, you've got precisely the opposite problem, as you say, Skip. They're trying to stitch together these disparate countries. And now, the ultimate irony is not the right word, but for the Eastern European countries that worked so hard to join the EU, they wanted to be on the inside. They wanted to have the free movement of their goods and people to and from the rest of the EU for work and for trade. The number of Poles that moved to Britain, for example, to take, in many cases, high-tech jobs, not menial jobs, and the general movement of the Romanians, Hungarians, the Poles, the Czechs throughout Europe was something they wanted. Now they've got the invaders on their eastern borders that want in, and nobody's negotiating. They're just showing up. And these folks are saying, hell no, we don't want open borders after all.
Yeah, and before anybody takes us wrong, although, for our Democrat trackers who follow the show and follow Granite Rock, they're not going to bother with this. We have no problem with immigrants. What we have a problem with is illegal immigrants. And I case A for us, case number one for us, is that you've done it the right way, you and Mama. And there are millions of other legal immigrants who have taken the time, the treasure, and the talent to do it the right way, because they don't want just what these Muslims seem to want. They just want a better life. They want the more money, the better living standards. You want it to be Americans, which is completely different. And that is where we take the offense at just opening up the borders and bringing these people in just because, oh, look at the war and the pestilence and the killing and everything else. Well, guys, if you keep bringing it in, just like that story from Instapunt that I just read about the German refugee camps, if you do this and you wholesale import another civilization and a whole disparate orthogonal set of cultural values, you won't have the engine that has given us what we have.
Yeah, we can't assimilate all. Well, if they wanted to assimilate, it would be different. We can't simply accommodate all of these people and expect our culture to keep on working and keep on producing the wealth that will allow us to support all of these people we've taken in. And, that's your point. It's just going to break down. And we see it breaking down in a lot of places around the world.
I'm working.
The natural state of the world, and life is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Guess what? We got over that because we created an exceptional nation based on an idea, not on a ruler.
Two things.
Yeah.
The absolute value of the right to private property and the rule of law, both of which are being denigrated and decimated here in America. And then they wonder why our come on in.
Yeah. Life.
Oh, no. Parking?
That's part of it. Ian's parking and dropped me
off. Yeah. Have a seat. We'll finish our conversation. We'll just get into it.
Life, liberty, and property, and liberty only under the rule of law, which applies equally to everybody, including the president.
And as we are seeing lately, the rule of law is something, as our next guest, Jody Underwood, will be talking about in a very small sliver of our life here in New Hampshire.
The rule of lawlessness.
Yes. And I think it is very dangerous for what's coming up. But anyways, slap on a headset, ma'am.
She's got time. Let her get relaxed. Running up the stairs to get in here because they couldn't get here in time for some reason. And we'll find out all about it in a minute. I'll take a really short break right now, and we will come right back. Stay tuned. This is Grok Talk.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
You can tell us the story on the air if you want. If you want, it's up to you.
That's fine. I have no problem with that.
Hi.
Yeah.
We're just
Hi, Jody.
Hi.
Glad to have you back.
Good to see you guys.
All right.
So, you were saying.
You have dogs.
Yes, we have dogs.
And time, and parking, and cars, and travel.
And red lights.
Red lights.
Oh my God, we hit every last. Ian said I actually ran one. Oops, I shouldn't say that. I was like, really? I didn't even notice. I didn't get caught, thank God, because that would have taken longer,
That's all right. We never have a dearth of stuff to talk about.
I bet. But what happened was we put the dogs in the car, and we do this all the time. We drop them at the farm on our way out. And it's just a mile down the road, and it's on the way. Mm-hmm. And every now and then we forget, but we remember, like at the bottom of the road. Today we didn't remember until we were another 7 minutes down the road. So guess what? We had to turn around, bring it back to the farm, and then take off.
We're dog friendly. You could have brought him in.
I
would have sat here. I would have been in heaven.
Yeah.
I get to pat a dog.
Oh,
We could do dog talk.
next time.
Next time, bring the dogs.
What kind of dogs do you have?
One is mostly golden retriever. He's like half Irish.
Oh, he'd
setter
love being
also.
patted
He
all.
loves it. Yeah.
They're lovable and stupid.
He's actually pretty smart. This one.
Oh.
Well, but they know how to act stupid.
They do.
It's kind of like the myth of the dumb blonde. They're not dumb,
That's
but
right.
they know how to
That's
do
right.
it just right.
Yeah. But the other one's a little dumber. He's half German Shepherd and half quarter yellow lab and a quarter golden retriever, and
that ought to be a whole brains trust right there. And yet,
yeah, I know.
because we had a lab setter mix, and she managed to act completely dumb and goofy. But those things have, are actually very smart dogs.
You okay with the volume?
I'm wondering how I'm.
You sound good.
You sound fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
good,
you're
thanks.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just not getting.
If
a
you don't
super
hear
loud.
it in yours, he can turn it up a little for you.
Yeah. Do you need more volume in your headset?
I don't know. I mean, I hear everybody, so
Yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
fine. I'm fine.
but
I
yeah,
got plenty of things to turn.
we had dogs for quite a while, and it's only because we moved through a couple of apartments and stuff, and we've been traveling more late. Well, not the last couple of years, but we had been traveling more. That we've not had dogs lately. May get back to it.
So, anyways,
So you had this deadline from the Attorney General's office.
Yes, this coming
looms
Monday.
is the word they use.
Yes.
Monday's deadline to comply with an order from the Attorney General's office looms. The Croydon School Board stands firm in its decision to continue sending 5 students from a small school district to a private school. And the looming day has come and gone.
No,
Oh,
Monday.
it's still
It's
Monday?
the 28th.
Monday's still. Oh,
Yes.
okay. What's the date on this? All right, never mind.
Yep.
Okay, it's Monday.
That's
It's
okay.
still looming. All right.
It is.
It's looming.
2 more days.
And you've made it clear that you believe you guys are following the law, which we've gone over in great detail, and you clearly are. And thank you to Chuck Douglas for reminding us of the specifics that they keep leaving out.
Yes.
But so that's where we are. You're still moving ahead with your plan. I wrote about that interview, by the way, and I got to tell you, at watchdog.org, that was very well received. A lot of people were excited about that.
by the way, we should make it quite clear to the listeners right now. This is Jody Underwood. She is the chair of the Croydon School Board. And that because you have no high school of your own, you had been in an agreement with a neighboring town to send the high school kids there. And they
More than high school, 5th through 12th grade.
Okay.
Yep.
But they decided to cut the contract.
We did. We decided.
All right. And now you are sending some children to some private schools, and that has sent the educational industrial complex here in the state of New Hampshire, all of the bureaucrats, in a tizzy. You can't do that. You have to stay in a union school, is really what it comes down to.
It is kind of, right? I mean, even Croydon Village School doesn't have union teachers.
Yay for you.
Yeah. But yeah, it has. I mean, it's related to that, but nobody's, connecting those dots specifically. I think it's also about just the state being in control. Oh my God, if they go to private schools, they don't have to take the Smarter Balanced assessment.
Oh, that's money.
Yeah, it is
You're
money.
going to take money away from
There we go.
fat
We
cat
found it.
bureaucrats.
Follow the money.
Absolutely.
Always follow the money.
I'm sorry, I am in one of those moods today where
Go
I
for
hate
it.
everybody.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so you're going to keep doing what you're doing. And is there any sense of what the AG is expected to do in response?
Yeah, actually. And you heard it here first.
Okay.
I mean, it's not official because it's not on paper, but yeah, they're going to take us to court. An injunction, I believe, is the right word, but I'm not positive about that. Again, not on paper. Hard to say for sure, but yeah, we think it's going to happen imminently.
Article 10.
Tell me what Article 10 is.
The right to rebellion in the New Hampshire Constitution.
The
And you're married to the right guy.
I am. Oh, yeah, he's throwing all this stuff at me. Wait till he gets here. He's like, you should tell Chuck Douglas this and this. I'm like, he has experience in this.
Oh, I wasn't talking
yes.
about your husband's words.
Oh.
the former state Supreme Court
Oh,
justice
that-
probably
yes,
can
right.
manage
Yeah.
the Attorney General's office.
Yeah.
So, so Chuck's still on board,
Yep.
Come on in.
and he found parking 2 miles down the road, probably, because it's 9:47 on a Saturday in Concord, New Hampshire.
Right.
And yay, you made it.
They said we could take the dogs here next time.
Yes.
Just bring them with you.
Yeah.
Bring them right up.
Bring a little bowl for water.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got water, just squirt
Yep.
it right in the mouth. So,
Absolutely. I got extra. I have more.
Do you mind letters?
No, they're in the car.
the dogs have them. The
Thanks.
dogs ate my letters.
Welcome.
All right, so
Hi.
hi there.
Paper letters.
Okay.
The printouts, they're in the car.
I think he
All
got
right,
his
forget
volume
it.
a
That's
little high
fine. That's
there,
fine.
Steve.
He's gonna have to
We
go
know
for a
stuff.
2 mile walk to get the letters.
He'll be back. They'll be off. It won't be worth it. Yeah.
No, we're here till 11. We'll just keep going. All right, so AG's office says stop. You guys say, nah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Our selectmen in the town of Croydon had a meeting on Tuesday in which they said the AG's office is actually asking them to do something that is contrary to law.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling them...
Surprise!
Can you believe it? They're telling the town that they're under law not allowed to give money to the school district, but they must give it to the SAU. And they're like, and what RSA does that say? We've always made out a check to the school district, and the address is the SAU because they handle it. The school board told us to send it to another address. We're still sending it to the same people by law. We're following the law. So what?
Apparently, they forgot what the A stands for in SAU.
Right. Yeah.
Administrative, form of administer,
Yeah, exactly.
manage.
And, there's also an RSA that talks about the treasurer's role is to write the checks, disperse the money. Like, that's what we're doing. So, yeah, they asked our town to do something not under law, and they're saying...
Well, that's what they're doing anyway.
We're not going to do it.
I mean, the AG's office says, we went through the law. We went through the RSA the last time you were here. There is... what you're doing is perfectly freaking legal. There is standing all over the place for sending students into other states and paying them with taxpayer money from New Hampshire to go to their schools.
Let alone our special ed kids who go to private schools. Because why? Because the public schools don't serve them. Guess what? They don't serve others, regular ed kids. Why should they suffer because they don't get this label of special ed? It doesn't make sense.
Has anybody tried to figure out their motivation short of the earlier mention of the union thing? But, this is just dumb. What are they...
What it shows is that the whole... It's showing up the hoax of local control when you go against the bureaucratic elite. We try to have the semblance of local control of schools here in New Hampshire. And what this is showing is that you have local control as long as you are controlling the way we want you to control.
That's right. That's exactly right. Our town voted for it.
But, there's a deeper issue. There's always a deeper issue, right? So part of it is one of the ways that...
Turn your volume up.
That I'm listening to.
Yeah, we can do that. Go ahead, sorry.
So Ian's fine.
We've gotten to the point where there's this idea that the law is whatever a person in authority says it is, right? All the way down to a police officer saying, I'm giving you a lawful order to stand on your left foot. And it's like, what's the law behind it? The law behind it is the person, right? So the AG, this is the way everybody's treating it. If the AG says it, it must be the law. If Virginia Berry says it, it must be the law. If the president says it, it must be the law. And that's, I think, actually much farther down and underneath all this stuff, more so than things like unions or local control. I think it's just the idea that the law is a sort of set of guidelines that you hope people in authority follow, but they'll do... We've gotten to the point where the very fact that they say something they think makes it the law.
Isn't it interesting that people, and I can say from experience, because until this century I didn't really pay a lot of attention to government or any of that other garbage, and you used to just say, oh, well, so-and-so said it, must be true.
Right.
And, you have actors pushing credit cards and stuff. Oh, yeah, great. Anyway, it's the same idea. And then, you get involved in it. And, one of the first couple of years I was politically active, I was doing New Hampshire Taxpayer Radio with Ed Nail, so I was learning all about municipal corruption and all the crap that goes on in your local towns with 200 people in them, towns with 25,000 people in them. It's all the same crap, because it's people, right?
Yeah.
And it's just nasty, it's brutish, and it's not short, it's long. This is long, there's a lot of this going on. It's very, very... And that's just that people just assume that it's true, and the fact is, more often than not, it's not.
That's right.
Sure.
So you have to become a cynic.
That's right.
And you have to try to still be a happy warrior.
Right. Have to
while
rough,
you're doing that, because otherwise nobody will talk to you.
Yeah. Right. So the small minority in my town who is against us sending kids to private schools, as I understand it, because they can't articulate it any better, it's because the state said so.
Right.
How can you argue with how the state's interpreting the law? And I feel like the state is not supposed to interpret law. The law is supposed to be clear. And they don't get to make law. And they are. That's what they're trying to do here.
Yep. And this is one of the fundamental changes that I have seen over the last 8 years. Gosh, who's been president since then? That the rule of law is what I say it is.
Bush was guilty
it's like we're
too.
all in
Exactly.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
I mean, we come back to my favorite thing when you were talking about the Constitution. You know, words have meanings. And the problem is lots of these nitwits think that their word supersedes the RSA's or their interpretation.
That's right.
That their expertise in one thing
Exceeds the Constitution as well.
exceeds the Constitution. Well, their experience exceeds the Constitution, but that their expertise flops into other areas of which they are just plain nitwits.
Well, and this,
Nitwit,
I mean,
the
if you
word
look
of the
at
day.
yes, if you look at the even bigger picture, there's something you might call the cult of the expert, right?
Yes.
Where you aren't qualified to make decisions about medicine. You have to go to an expert. You're not qualified to make decisions about law. You have to go to an expert. You're not qualified to make decisions about education. You have to go to an expert, right? So you've been training people for generations now to say, look, anything that's more complicated than, say, Winnie the Pooh requires somebody to stand between you and that document. So it doesn't even occur to you to look at the document, right? You go to the person who's supposed to tell you what
No,
the
I'm
document
sorry.
says.
Winnie the Pooh's too complex.
It is the Tower.
Dick and Jane, maybe.
But you know, when I was
Okay.
on the budget committee, that was exactly right. And I will tell you the best example was a football team in Guilford. It was just a club level. And volunteers would do, the lines and the flags and everything. But as soon as they made the change that taxpayers were going to pay for this because they were going to bring it into the school system, then everybody had to be paid. Why? Well, because they'll do the job better. And I look at the internet and everything else. Look at, I'll go back, Rathergate, Dan Rather saying that these documents showed that George Bush was a liar until one real expert, a typewriter repair guy, showed this was never done back then. This is Microsoft Word. And
Right.
with the technology was able to show it, and he lost his job. That same disruptive force is what you guys can have now because you as ordinary people, well, you're ordinary, she's the chair.
I don't know about ordinary, but anyway.
Yeah.
I have a PhD.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're ordinary.
But yeah, I know. I'm trying to make a small little joke.
Right.
But anyways, through that, it's empowering ordinary people to say, you're wrong. And we can prove that you're wrong. So, it comes back to the ordinary person going against the state level, City Hall. And I applaud you for it.
Thanks.
I mean, it takes some guts. You're giving fulfillment to the word fearless.
We should somewhere fit in here that you don't need a master's degree to teach kindergarten, by the way. I just to throw it out there because my wife works in a kindergarten.
Yeah.
And she can run a class, but she only gets paid like a third of what they get paid because you have to have somebody with a big degree to teach kindergartners about where to sit on the carpet.
Because now they're what do they call it?
Paraprofessional.
Yeah, no.
Well,
But
that's what my
you
wife does,
you
yeah.
need your master's because that will prepare you more for teaching in a class. Wait,
No, it's absolutely wrong. I have a master's in
You
computer
need a
science.
master's in crayon and
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or that,
stickers.
Color.
or
masters
that
in
guy who's
stickers.
complaining about the debt that he is now in because he got a master's in puppetry. Go figure.
Masters
I got a
in
master's
puppet.
in
Is that what they're calling it now?
Yeah, I got a master's in computer science, and when I was at Digital Equipment Corporation, I had people who had dropped out of high school that were far better than I at writing code. It was just they were born to write code. That's all it came down to. That's all I could say, and they could run rings around me. So a degree is only as good as what you can apply it to.
Totally.
Computer science is not programming either, though.
Right.
They're different.
Right. We both have
Computer
masters in
science
computer
is the
science,
study
actually.
of programming and how programming works and how compilers work and what it means, what's computable, what's not.
Yeah, but you're
It's-
supposed to be able to use that in actually doing that stuff.
Maybe.
It's the
You know, it's
philosophy
kind of, yeah.
It's the philosophy of code.
Something like
Something
that.
like that.
You know.
Anyway, we got about 40 seconds. So we're going to keep talking about this and whatever else comes up in the rest of the show. And because it's wide open. I didn't book anybody else. Because you guys are awesome. He'll replace you with
Yeah.
AWS. But for those of you who are listening, don't forget to check us out on Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Ustream, and, of course, at GraniteRock.com and on The Rock, NHCR.com. I am Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy, Mike Rogers, and Jody and Ian Underwood. Don't forget we will be at Southern New Hampshire University next Saturday. From the Federalism Forum name, I can't remember the whole thing, but there's an all-day event there. And the week after that, we will be at the RLC convention, and the whole month we're going to be on remote. So everybody stay tuned. We will be right back.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at gerardatlarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
Rock Talk.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Rock Talk.
All right, welcome back. This is Grok Talk, brought to you by CNHT, Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, and the bloggers at GraniteGrok.com. We come to you live almost every Saturday from 9 to 11 Eastern Standard Time from our luxurious studios here at 8 North Main Street in Concord, New Hampshire. And we always like to let everybody know where they can hear us. Of course, GraniteGrok.com. And this and past programs are available on Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Ustream. Don't forget to check us out on The Rock, NHCR.com. The show is rebroadcast Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me.
Glad you could make it. Glad you could make it. I know you won't be with us every week in October because you have to go work in the left coast.
Yes. Yeah, I tried to change my job so I'd be able to stay home, but once again, I have to get into that very thin aluminum composite material
most of the time.
pipe
Most of the time you're home.
attached to explosive devices
Every 10 years
at
or so,
35,000 feet.
they make you fly out to the mothership and
Yeah,
get training. Is that what they're calling it? They're calling it training?
Yeah, I have a feeling it'll be a little bit of a training, a little bit of a. I've gone to the principal's office.
Really? What'd you
Shakedown.
do?
Shakedown.
Huh?
What'd you do?
Well, take the
I'm
opportunity.
sorry.
Take the opportunity as I would to shake down the principal instead.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so
I take those opportunities to make sure I go visit the engineers and people that I need questions answered from and give them hell.
Yeah. Well.
enough about us. Jody and Ian Underwood have joined us. We're talking about Croydon. The New Hampshire AG's office is saying, don't do that, and they're saying, but it says we can do that in the law, so too bad. And that's kind of where we are. Now, we were talking about at the break, you have a website funding. You need
Yes.
funding because you're going to go to court.
We do, and it's ucaring.com, and if you search for Croydon, Croydon, you'll find the fundraising, what do you call it, link
Yep.
for
Croydon,
us.
New Hampshire School Choice.
So do that. Go there. Donate. They need money because the AG's office has a bottomless pit of taxpayer dollars they are going to waste on a pointless endeavor just to make a point because they want to scare people off so they don't do this because that's what they do.
Right.
Even though they know if anybody reads the law as written, they have no case, they still have to do it because somebody else might. And so that's really that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
You know?
And they could win. It's a crapshoot.
And they could because this is
Depends
New
on the
Hampshire.
judge,
and
right?
We have judges in New Hampshire who aren't.
It's the rule of man, not the rule of law.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, so what's interesting to me here, too, is people in the town, while they're for private schools and they're for school choice, they're afraid of the cost that this could bring to the town. And so, interestingly, a year ago, I guess, maybe more, we got a donation from somebody of $12,000. The school did. Like on the sale of his house, 80% went to the town and 20% went to the school, and we could spend it however we want. So we have a starting point of $12,000 that we can throw at this, which is awesome. But again, we have a very small town, and to split the costs across them could be bad. However, if you put perspective on it, the ballpark we were given was between $15,000 and $20,000. $15,000 and $20,000 for the court case. I mean, I guess that means for the first round. Like if we have to appeal, it might be more. And what is that really in perspective? It's one student in high school for 1 year. It's not a lot of money in terms of that. So hopefully the town will get to see that as we explain it to them.
And you have that money plus your fundraising, and
Exactly.
it really is a matter of principle. This really is about intimidation. They don't want anybody else to go and read the paper and go, oh, look at that. When I wrote my piece at Watchdog, I wrote, you found school choice in existing law. Because you did.
Right.
That's what it was.
That's right.
And then I explained it as we discussed, the last time you were here. And like I said, a lot of people read that. Now, I don't know if there's a lot of people in New Hampshire that read it. I don't see a whole bunch of people going, hey, we could have school choice. Yet I'm not hearing that resounding call from school boards, mostly because most school boards are like, we don't want that. We like the arrangement we have now. Not so much in every town. Wyndham comes to mind. I mean, they're not, just bend over and let the superintendent do what they want. They're not that kind of school.
But we have talked about or talked with people, our educational person, Jorge Mesa Tejada, who talks about the Earl of Metzler.
Yeah, Timberlane's one of those schools where the superintendent is, basically, Sig Heil. You got to do what he says or else, and he knows how to play the system and work it and apply the pressure to get what he wants. And even though, like Sandown and Danville are like, we are going to fight you, it's still a tough row to hoe. And so, in your case, you're just skipping right to the AG. And
well, they skipped to us, right?
They did skip to you, yeah, because they came knocking on your door.
They did
to tell you were doing something that wasn't legal, and of course we've all read the law, and it is.
And it's interesting, we've had Chuck Douglas's office has written responses to a letter from the Department of Ed, a phone call from the Department of Ed, and then a letter from the AG's office. And not once has the state responded directly to our letters, our replies. Like, can you tell us where we got it wrong? They're not being rational about this.
They
can't. And that's a really nice way of looking at it. It's just...
That's not what we want it to mean.
Exactly. Yep. So now we're going to try something else and throw new laws at you and get your process wrong. I mean, again, this letter from the AG's office who told our town that what you're doing is wrong, and here's what we understand that you're doing. It's like, you're not doing that. I don't know where you got your information. Maybe you got it from some newspaper that reported it wrong. I'm not sure. So they're getting so many things wrong. It's amazing.
I want to go back to the intimidation factor that Steve brought up, which is how many people actually live in the Croydon area?
Town?
Yeah.
About 750.
All right. So, again, when you look at the number of people there and the size of the state government and the taxpayer money that they can bring to bear, this is not a small thing. I will tell you, having been on the budget committee, when you talk about stuff in my town, we've got more people.
You lose audio again?
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, I seem to have gone dead.
You're dead. I'm still getting a feed.
Oh, okay.
I'm still getting a feed.
But anyways, you look at that and you go...
I'll turn it up a little on the master, see if that helps.
All right. We can do that.
Better?
Better? We can do more. We can do more.
All
right.
Can you hear? Say something.
Better. I'm here.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
I hear you over
Better.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's time. Maybe this headset is now gone.
Maybe it's your ears.
Maybe it's my ears.
I have to turn it way up because it is my ears.
I
So
gotcha.
I know that.
So, anyways, and it was always a discussion. If you were going to go up against the state, how much is it going to cost?
Are we going to win? That's when I'm like, I don't know. Anyway.
The law says so, but like you said.
But it is a legitimate concern
It is.
of the taxpayers
It is.
in town.
Yes.
And the state knows it.
Yes. Yes. And they're
And
trying to
they-
intimidate us. They're bullying us, right? Again and again.
Yeah. You just have to love it. The State Board of Education, who's been putting together all these anti-bullying programs to be implemented at the local level, and look what they're doing.
That would be maybe you guys on the school board should implement your anti-bullying policy now.
Yes, and
say
use
we
it
will not.
against the AG.
Our policy is we will not give in to bullying,
That's right.
and then publish that. Send it to
Right.
Megan.
Well, you
Taylor.
know, we don't like to have policies about anything because we like to deal with things on a case-to-case basis.
Right.
And in this case, yeah, that's what we're doing.
You know, we will not negotiate with terrorists.
That's right.
Can you put them in a timeout?
That's funny.
Now, how is we were talking about superintendents earlier. Your superintendent is brand new. First time, put into this situation. How is she holding up?
She's interesting. She's doing pretty well. Like personally, like we're all very civilized, even though she's not really supporting what we're doing. So it's we can have sort of open conversations about it, but she just is going to listen to what the state tells her to do because it's her first time out.
Yep.
And that's where she stands.
Yeah. All you have to say is whose signature is on the front of your paycheck.
Right, and that's fine, except that
to a point.
She's the superintendent of SAU 43, which includes both the Newport School Boards and the Croydon School Boards.
Ah, yes.
And Newport has 5 people, and we have 3. And we did talk about it at an SAU board meeting once, and most of them were uncomfortable ordering the superintendent to follow what we said.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
that's where we stand. So Croydon can't order her to do it by ourselves. The whole SAU board has to do it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Unless you guys pack the board, we should just have a special election and get like 5 more people on the Croydon
Oh,
School
yeah, we
Board.
could
Then
enlarge
it'd
the
be
Croydon
like
School
8 to
Board.
5.
Sure, why not?
If
Yeah.
it was going to work for Roosevelt, they might just back down. on
really.
it.
What's stopping you from adding board members? Really?
Yeah. For those people who aren't quite as well educated on history, a brief segue, please, Ian.
So back when Roosevelt was president, FDR, yes.
Yeah,
Thank
let
you, FDR.
us not mix out Roosevelt's.
Yes, when Roosevelt was president.
One was merely a statist, the other was a communist.
Okay. So when FDR was president, he was trying to get a lot of legislation passed, which was clearly unconstitutional. The court kept throwing it out, saying this is unconstitutional. And then he threatened to get his majority in Congress to essentially pack the Supreme Court by adding more justices, saying for every justice over a certain age, I get to add another one. So then he would just clearly have a majority, and that was sort of when the Supreme Court adopted this idea that, well, okay, in order to prevent that from happening, if a piece of legislation has the magic preamble that says what it is that Congress is trying to do, then it's okay. So, and they just totally caved. So,
yeah, talking about intimidation once again in the land of the free.
right, and I think that's where the phrase "a stitch in time saves 9" comes from. Actually,
I think you're right.
because they buckled and saved the 9-person court.
Wow.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I heard it. But that's true, and then you should stack your Croydon School Board with more people, and then just go back and take the SAU over.
Let's just put everybody in town on the school board.
We have 700 people on our school board.
It only takes 1 vote per person to get on.
Right.
Just elect yourself, everybody. You elect yourself. Boom.
We have more members on ours. You would be the largest deliberative body on the planet.
It's true. That would be great. The meetings would be tough.
New Hampshire would be like 4th now instead of 3rd or whatever it is. So.
Well, the only difference would be how many were in the audience and how many were on the board.
Yeah, you'd need a really big table.
You'd still have the same arguments.
There would be no audience. Everybody. It would be government by the people.
People might actually come to our meetings then.
Participation plus.
Right.
So if you told them they had a vote, they might actually... No, that won't work.
Right, exactly. Although once you're on the board, I don't know, there's something a little more
that's
compelling
true, that's
about
true.
that.
Copies, lots of copies. You have
That's
to make
so
a lot
funny.
of copies. Here's your packet.
So, I mean, I'm changing the subject, but just because this occurred to me. So I was on NHPR yesterday morning, on Morning Edition, and I believe it went national. And yesterday all day, my segment was on the top stories on the nhpr.org site. And I just went there today, and it's still at the top of their page.
This is a great story. Just like, I write for Watchdog Arena, and I get okay traffic, great traffic. When I wrote about your story, I got great traffic because it's a school choice thing. Now, I shared it with all the school choice people, and they shared it with us. So, you bring in a lot of traffic that way. But, you get engagement. because it's an important topic. People are curious, not just about school choice, but about the state's involvement, and then, even all the way to the federal government with Common Core and all this other crap that's going on, and everybody's hearing all these different things, and you talk about a tiny little town that said, this is the law, it says we can do this, we're going to do that, and then, here comes Goliath, to try to take you down because you're raining on their little parade, and that's a great story. I mean, it's an underdog story, and I think that's what people like about it, but in your case, we've said it over and over again, and we're going to keep saying it. The law's on your side. We just don't know if we can get a judge to agree.
Right, well, there's that.
I cannot help myself. The Underwoods are the underdogs. Sorry.
That's okay. And it's not just us, right? But it's our town.
But it is.
It is your town.
I mean, it's a great story.
Yeah.
It is. And I think the book Unintimidated was written about the wrong person.
So what's the next step that you'll have to go through at this point?
Collecting money.
Yeah.
Well,
donations.
Okay.
Well, Monday comes, right?
You caring, Croydon, New Hampshire School Choice.
Yep.
So youcaring.com, and then just look up Croydon.
Right, YOUcaring, .com.
But what else is going on other than the raising the money? Because you folks are certainly able to multitask. What's the next thing?
I think we're going to court.
But you haven't gotten anything in writing saying you have to show up, right?
I haven't.
Right, you have to wait for Monday, and the AG has to pull the trigger on their lawsuit
the
if they're
AG
going to
called-
sue you or do whatever they do.
The AG
junction
called
or-
Chuck Douglas's office,
Mhm.
so there was a phone call. They like to do phone calls for some reason.
Oh,
No
yeah,
paper
because-
trail.
No paper trail.
No paper trail.
Yeah, there's
That's
a very
why.
easy way around that. Every conversation you have with me, I am going to record. If you don't like it, hang up.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, then it's a matter. And Chuck thinks that it's going to be soon. It's interesting. He's like, probably in the next week or so, we'll be going to court. And when I mentioned this to my school board members, Angie Bolio said, God, you always hear about court cases. It takes forever to get to court. I'm like, right.
Yeah.
I was like, those are criminal cases. This one is by the state. Big surprise. She's like, right. It's very interesting. Yeah.
They're just going to change the schedule.
All criminal cases are conducted by the state. The
But
difference
still- No,
is,
it's-
if they're putting somebody in jail for stealing some Twinkies, they're not going to lose a lot of revenue and a lot of political
Good
donations.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as opposed to hunting down voter fraud.
Yeah, that's not really a big deal. That can wait.
Not
you
to
can always
them.
ask them, well, how's the voter fraud investigation going? Sorry. So, when you talked to Chuck Douglas's office, did they say what charges they're bringing? Why are they going to bring you to court? Obviously, this whole thing, but is there something specific that they're going to bring against you in court?
So enjoin was the word, right? Is that what I said?
Yeah.
To
They say stop.
I imagine
Why?
stop sending. Oh, yeah. Well, why has been the question the whole time, and I think that's what we go to.
The other question
court.
is, or what?
Or what? Yes, and they have never said or what. I imagine a bear cat going to the Montessori school to take out the 4 kids that we have in there now.
Well, like I said, you're married to the right guy.
Well, that would be good. There should be cameras for that.
Hopefully they'll let us know. But
Yeah, if it's
Give you a
if-
little bit of warning.
If it's during the week of October 22nd, my cameras will be there.
okay.
All right, we're going to take a really quick break. Stay on the line. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Why are you going to want to listen to Grok Talk? Because when it comes to politics, news, and the culture, we are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio, microphone stomping, conservative bloggers, and activists. Grok Talk comes to you live Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you missed us on Saturday, catch us on Monday from 1 to 3 p.m. right here on The Rock, NHCR.com.
Rock Talk. Rock Talk.
Hey, we're back. We have Ian and Jody Underwood here talking about the Croydon School District school choice situation. What was the name of that Fund Me site there?
YouCaring.
YouCaring.
YOUcaring.com.
Go to youcaring.com, search Croydon, Croydon. Make a donation to help support them because the evil AG is going to come and try to stomp on this awesome little endeavor.
The Empire against the Rebellion. Put it in Star Trekky terms.
The Empire against the Rebellion.
You go to court and you need to...
Yeah.
You need to
Not the Rebellion against the Empire?
No, because they came after you first.
They're two groups.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a group,
yes,
not an
yes,
act.
yes. Right.
English
Okay.
is tricky.
Sorry, I know. It's early on a Saturday morning.
It is.
It's 10:30. What are you talking about?
I've only been up for
4
5.5
a.m.
hours.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. 4:23 a.m. somewhere.
Well, I'm talking about mean solar time.
Oh,
It's
whoa,
4
whoa,
a.m.
all right. Sorry. I know, NASA, whatever, you guys.
You have to remember who you're talking
I know.
Mean solar time. Just a few minutes off from everybody else.
And he doesn't mean as in mean, angry.
You just have to remember
Angry
he's
someone.
without his dogs.
That's right. Dogless. All right, so let's see. A couple minutes left in this segment, and then we'll go whole hog on anything else you guys want to talk about. We obviously will find out. We'll catch up with you next week and see what the AG does. Obviously, if they've said they're going to do something, they will, because they don't have anything else to do. Like we said, they're not enforcing any other laws that are really important, so they might as well come after you guys.
Well, remember, too, election time is coming up, and one cannot embarrass our current commander-in-chief in the Oval Office because she wants a higher office. So this will be what she'll be able to You might even become campaign fodder on the left, at least to the emails going out the door. Look at the rebellion we put down.
This is interesting on the NHPR site. Like everywhere else I get interviewed, and the Union Leader, Valley News, Eagle Times, like these are all there. Mm-hmm. I have no problem talking to these people. The articles are usually pretty good and supportive. The comments are usually, go Croydon, yay, glad you're doing this. On NHPR, they went in a different direction.
Surprise.
Surprise. First is Jody Underwood on the board of the Free State Project?
Of course!
Yep.
Anybody who's not on the left is a Free Stater.
Exactly. But of course I am, right? Well, how come it's secretive? I'm like, Google me. You'll find it. Is that really being secretive?
You will actually find quite a bit if you just Google Jody Underwood.
Exactly.
You don't even have to put New Hampshire.
You probably don't even have to spell my name right, which they didn't. Which is
Jody Underweed.
No, the Jody, just that.
J-O-D-I.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was interesting.
They somehow get you confused with the Jodi Knights?
Oh, we can take this forever, can't we?
That could be some nice PR. You should have put that on the You Caring page, you and your burlap robe.
Well, you know what? I mean, for social networking, for getting the You Caring word out, I have to come up with different ways of getting different people. So
some
I could
internet
get creative.
memes here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll start doing some memes.
Yeah.
Jodi Knights. Okay.
Jodi Underwood versus the dark side of the dark forces.
Yeah, well, I'll get some people.
Princess Jody.
We'll get the gamers.
Luke?
We're like Yoda.
Yoda.
Actually, yeah.
Obi-Wan.
That's much more suitable. Yeah. All right, let me see what I'm doing here. You keep talking.
See, we don't do interviews. We just have conversations here.
Which I love. It's
what we
great. It's
do.
very comfortable.
Be a little crazy.
A little. Yeah. Just the ADD bloggers of GreenwichRock.com. So,
I mean, it would be interesting to know what they plan to do, right? And so just as sort of a parallel thing, I have a friend who said, hey, you know what? When you vote, you don't have to show ID. You can fill out an affidavit of residence, right? So I thought, what the hell? I'm going to do this. So I go in, I fill out
in Croydon.
The thing. In Croydon. I fill out this affidavit of residence, and I go ahead and vote.
Of course, they know
for the
him
school
at
board.
the table, right?
They know me, but still, it's rules are rules,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I fill out the thing. So like months later, I get a letter from the AG's office saying, in the paragraph saying, you are required to send back this form saying whether that was really you or not. It's pursuant to RSA, blah, blah, blah. Footnote.
they actually
At the
did
bottom.
that?
Yes.
Wow.
Wait,
which is
it's better.
interesting.
Yeah,
at the bottom, they actually cited the entire RSA, which said nothing about what I have to do. It just said, the Attorney General shall send out these letters within such and such a time,
Which
by
they
April,
did.
whatever.
Right.
And it's like, this is exactly it. They look at that and they go, well, it means you have to send it back. And it's like,
doesn't
It
say
doesn't.
that.
You know? But we
So
said
did
it
you?
did.
Did you send an
No.
affidavit?
I actually started to write a letter sort of saying, as I read this thing, but I had other stuff to do.
Nobody's reading.
Thanks,
Nobody's
thanks for
looking
confirming that you had to send out a letter within so many days and that you did so.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Now, have
Don't
you-
expect anything else from us.
Right.
Now, did you send anything back?
No, I didn't. I should have.
I was going to say, what a surprise they would have had. Somebody sent something back.
no, I think most people would, but I
No,
bet
they
they're
don't.
not tracking it.
No,
you really
they
don't think.
don't.
Okay.
No, a lot of people
Because
don't.
a lot of people,
Well, those people aren't.
they're faux addresses.
Right.
This is the same day registration, affidavit, like you
Right.
did. They do their vote. It gets counted. And then they just disappear.
I know this is going to sound weird, but we're going to go to break because we're going into the last segment. We're here with Jody and Ian Underwood. We will be right back.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now, at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Rock Talk.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Rock Talk.
Welcome back to Grok Talk. Just to reiterate from earlier when Jane was here, New Hampshire Right to Life 2015 Benefit Banquet, Thursday, October 8th, 2015, Executive Court Banquet Facility, 1199 South Mammoth Road in Manchester. The reception's at 5:30. Begins at 5:30. Dinner is 6:45 to 9:15. Advanced reservations are preferred. 40 Days for Life started September 23rd, goes until November 1st. You can visit, let me see what we got here. Vigil locations, vigil hours, 40 Days for Life. Vigil location, I didn't read this before I went on the air. Public right-of-way outside of Planned Parenthood, 24 Pennacook Street, Manchester, New Hampshire. Vigil hours are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Locally, you can contact 978-226-3240 or email 40daysforlifemanchester@gmail.com. All right. Let me just turn on some microphones now that I'm done talking.
With a Massachusetts phone number, no less. But it's nice to have some folks from Massachusetts standing with us on liberty and respect for the life of the baby.
Okay. So, we can talk about anything. Not that we haven't.
Right. We sure have.
Hey, Jody, for people who don't trust sending money over the internet, is there an address they could send a check or just put some cash in an envelope and send it to you guys?
Sure.
Where would they send it to?
I guess they could send it to me. I think that would be reasonable, right? So Jody Underwood
I already know one guy who just wants to give you cash.
Sure. So Jody Underwood, that's Jody. And the address is 92 Forehand Road, Forehand, in Croydon, New Hampshire, 03773.
Is that the
that's
SAUs?
my home address, but I am
But you are the
What if
chair?
they sent it
I
to
am
you
the
at
school
town
board
hall?
chair.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't think the town hall wants to get involved in this.
That's probably true.
So you could send it to the SAU.
You could get a.
We could.
And
they would just.
You
then
could
they'd
send
have
them a
the
receipt.
You could, send it to the SAU. Send it to, Jody Underwood, Chair, Croydon School Board, care of SAU 43. I don't know their address offhand, in Newport, New Hampshire. Also 03773.
It would probably get there.
And it
with
would,
that
and they would
address.
give it to me. Yeah, it would get there. Yeah, just like that, it would get there.
There are some. One of the things I learned working for UPS in southern New Hampshire, and was that when you're delivering, there are certain towns where you have to go and make sure it's like at the door behind a bush or a chair or something. And there's other towns where you could just throw it into the town square and it would get delivered that day. Just, there were certain towns where you knew it was always safe and everybody was, and maybe Croydon's a place like that, I don't know. But it's interesting, the diversity, because, you're down here. This is Concord, which is not southern Nashua. It really is. But when you get farther south of Manchester and down by closer to Nashua, you have towns that are huge, 25,000 people in a town, or even more like a city like Nashua. But then you drive 15 minutes, and there's this tiny town with like 300 people in it, and it's just so quaint, and everybody's like, oh, because it's got the church with the white steeple and the little local store and everything else, and that's New Hampshire. And then you drive a little bit farther, and you're in the middle of nowhere. It's just nothing. Trees. Yeah. So, there's a lot of different character, but one of the things we said earlier, you get down to the town level of government, people are still people.
Right, and they are. And, you asked what our next steps are, and one of our next steps is really to help the town understand what's going on. So we're sending the AG's letter and our response to it with a, small cover letter. Oh, wow. Realizing I should change that cover letter before it goes out and tell them about you caring that we're actually raising money.
Absolutely.
Because this is news. Damn, Ian's making a note for me. Thank you.
Good hubby.
Yeah. Now he has to remember to tell me later. One thing at a time.
The writing I've got is the finding the notes later.
You should have brought the dogs, and then they could have reminded you to remind her.
You tuck it into the collar.
Ian usually writes it on his hand or his arm. Yeah.
I started putting... I just got a smartphone this year, and I started using the little note thing in there because I usually have the phone with me in case somebody's trying to get a hold of me. And then I'll be like, what the hell did I have to get at the store? Oh, I put it in the phone. Okay, I got to go look. If I don't put it in the phone, I don't remember. It's not there.
Yeah, I do voice memos a lot, like if I'm driving. I
use a lot of these, too.
Yeah.
I write a little note, stick it in my wallet, and then when I go to open up my wallet to make sure I have my credit cards or my money, I see the note, and I go, oh, what the hell's that?
Hey, would you get arrested? You'd get arrested if you were putting the note into your smartphone. But would you get arrested if you were writing it on a sticky?
No, I could actually...
You have to have a hands-free sticky.
I could be driving like this, writing on the roof of the car. But if I just touched my phone, I could get a $100 fine or whatever.
Is the hands-free, does it say hands-free electronic device?
Yeah.
Electronic. So same thing for
so
GPSs. If you were in a convoy with walkie-talkies.
Smoke and talk and eat.
But I could have my little
makeup
moleskin notebook and
to
be writing.
You can read the paper. You can
put
on
do that.
mascara.
And if by chance that caused an accident, there is a law for that, the distracted driving law, which we already had, which apparently doesn't apply to phones because we had to have 2 more laws for that.
Yeah. Electronic objects.
Electronic objects.
Devices.
So just don't make sure you're not using like an electronic touchpad that you can write on, because that would qualify.
Well, and it's a funny thing, right? They needed an extra law. They needed another law. This is something Jody and I were talking about actually the other day. Just this idea that you get to the point where nothing is based on first principles anymore. So you don't even know what the law says, and you can't reason it out. You can't do something like you just did and say, well, distracted driving is already illegal. That would be distracted driving. We're covered, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody actually knows because nobody reads that law. They just think, oh, well, here's a bad thing. We'd better have a law for it, right? And so the laws just pile up and pile up.
And it didn't make any sense that when they came up with the texting law, we said, but we have a distracted driving law, and they passed it anyway. And then they said, well, we need a hands-free electronic device. And I was like, well, you have a texting and a distracted driving law. You don't need... What's next?
Right.
My car is full of electronics.
Well, we know exactly...
I can't touch I can't drive anymore. That's the whole thing. They want you to take the train.
Well, the problem... the problem is they didn't disallow playing with your radio or your CD or the MP3. You can certainly adjust the electronic controls for the temperature in the car. Right. You can turn on the electronic wipers or the defroster.
You can turn around and do this to your kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway, it's stupid. We all know it's dumb, and there it is, and that's the problem. The problem isn't the law. The problem is the process that leads to stuff just like that. And then, like in your case, the law is pretty clear. But apparently it's too clear. They got to screw it up.
It's not the right law.
That's true.
Nobody's reading. Look, we've. Excuse me.
That's okay. It happens to me all the time.
Take some water.
You can take a break.
We're fine.
So we've been in the. Oh, he
I
turned
it
me
down
off.
so you can clear your throat.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So we've been in the newspaper multiple times over the last year since this whole thing started, since we started getting letters. And we haven't really had any extra people come to school board meetings. But then I was on WMUR News.
Oh, boy.
And suddenly people
So
are
they
aware.
watch the news,
They
you know
watch
that.
TV. Yeah, exactly. So now we know that that's how we can reach our town because we don't have any easy way of doing that. But I was just startled, right? So when I say the town suddenly became aware, 6 people came to our last school
That's
board meeting.
pretty big.
Do you have cable in
We
Croydon?
don't. No.
Dish? Is
Well,
there local programming on Dish?
They have
We don't have local
smoke
programming.
signals that they'd use.
Right.
There is local programming in Newport. Somebody was telling me
Newport
about
there
that.
is,
Yeah,
yes,
so
yeah.
I don't know if anybody.
but we don't have
watches
cable,
in
and it's
Croydon.
cable in Newport. I mean, we just got high-speed internet, but a few years ago, like 3 years ago, and not everybody has it yet.
To step up from carrier pigeons, right?
That's right.
Or you could just summarize your arguments in like Burma Shave style signs along Route 10 as people are driving through. You know?
That's
Nice.
not a bad idea.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you live stream the school board meetings?
No, we don't.
You should.
Where to?
Exactly.
Nobody can see them.
Well,
Right, and there's no cell service at where
There's no
the
cell
meetings
service.
take
But-
place.
but-
It's a-
You
But
could
you
record
just-
them
We
and
get
put them on
internet.
YouTube, right?
We can get to
Sure.
internet down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but you said that you now in Croydon have fast internet.
Well, that's just to people's homes, but there's no site, right? There's no where would we?
Well,
Well,
all
but
you would
wherever
to
you
do
have
is
your
just,
school-
yeah, just record them
Do what we do.
and then put them on YouTube.
That's all.
We could do that.
Hey,
just a
we
regular
live
video.
streamed Vermin Fest. You know?
We did get Bill
do the
McGonigal
same
on it.
thing.
Yeah.
Vermin Fest. Is this who I
Vermin
think it is?
Supreme.
Vermin Supreme, yeah.
We
Yeah, it's
hosted
a 3-day party fundraiser
at Bardo Farm
event.
2 weeks ago.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
It was
It was
something.
fun, and it
bet
was
it
live
was.
streamed.
I bet it
3
was
days of vermin.
Yeah, it was 2. Yeah, whatever. But
Is that too many?
It was fun.
I'm sure you had fun. I'm
I
just trying
think it was a
to. I'm just
stitch.
trying to measure out how many days of a guy with a boot on his head, no matter what he says.
He didn't always wear his boot.
That's good.
And,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just him.
It
There was
wasn't.
music.
Yeah.
There was a big slip and slide. There was,
There was. It was the Rainbow Group. That
Yeah,
was.
Rainbow
those are
Gathering.
his followers. The Rainbow Gathering. Yeah.
so
Cool.
food,
Bunch of
camping,
hippies in the
you know?
woods.
Yeah.
Hippies in the woods are good.
Yeah.
That's a good place for
Yeah.
hippies.
Yeah.
And it forced us to clean up that area of our
Yeah,
property
yeah.
and get it into shape.
Well, that's
for people
always
to
good
camp.
too.
So-
Good to have
because
deadlines.
If I ever had to clean out behind my shed, I don't know what I'd do. You know, I'd just be like, I better call, get junk or something. You know, come take all the stuff out
Right.
because I got lawnmowers back there and it's pretty scary. But yeah, sometimes you need a motivation. Like we used to every year, my daughter's birthday party would be the one party where we had a lot of people come over and moms would come and my wife would be like, fix this in the yard, make sure these trees are gone, da da da. You know, we'd have a list, and so I wouldn't do a lot of stuff earlier in the summer because I knew I'd have to do it anyway later. So I just wait,
Yeah.
get it all done at once.
Good
you know?
approach.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Procrastination. Yeehaw.
well, I was blogging or something. I don't know.
Right,
Maybe doing
exactly.
this. Who's this? So.
Just tell them the Croydon School Board is hiding behind your shed. And clear it out, take everything, and it'll get top priority too.
That would too.
It'll be done by tomorrow.
Yeah. The AG's office down there. I could ask them some questions while they're there.
Really?
Scare 'em
They
off.
would turn over every single rock to find you. Clear it out. Pull up the dump truck, Harry.
So what you were talking about before reminded me. You had come up with something that you wanted to talk about where there was already a law written. But what was that?
Oh yeah, so I was talking to Frank Edelblut, who's either running or thinking about running or planning to run for governor, and so we were talking more
You
about.
guys know him, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to him last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking about, sort of laws that deal with process instead of going after particular issues like drugs or schools or whatever. And we were talking, I was like, wouldn't it be an interesting idea if you could, as governor, lead the passage of a law that essentially said, since all legislative power is vested in the legislature, if somebody who's not in the legislature says something, you don't have to pay attention to it, right? And it would just take care of a lot of things at once. State Liquor Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in the legislature? No, we don't care. The school, the Department of Education, are you in the legislature? No, we don't care.
DES.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We don't care, right? Because you're not the legislature and you didn't actually pass a law, which would be sort of interesting. And if you really take it to the meaning of the words, you wouldn't have to pay attention to judges either because they're not in the legislature. So anyways, we were chatting about that and how much fun that would be.
They are at least paid to interpret the law as opposed to...
They're not actually paid to interpret the law.
No, they're
they're
not.
paid to enforce judicial power, which is to say this guy is inside or outside the law, not to interpret the law.
Okay.
The Supreme Court, maybe,
right.
and that's
no,
just
not
the
even
Constitution.
The Supreme,
Not
even
all
the
the Supreme Court can say is that, in our opinion, this law violates the Constitution.
Right.
The legislature can do whatever the
Right,
hell
exactly.
it wants.
Right.
That's right.
And so, but that's, nobody really understands that, and so they've been turned into a super legislature. Anyway, so we were sitting someplace with free Wi-Fi last night, and I'm looking through the Constitution for something else, and I came across, is it Article 12 or 12A maybe, that actually just says that. It says no resident of New Hampshire shall have to obey any law that isn't passed by its representative body. It's like,
It's already
okay, hey,
there.
Virginia Barry, are you my representative body? No, you're not. So, I would love to see that raised.
And this whole thing, I mean, I've written about it for a long time. The administrative state. It is the end point of progressivism, which is nothing more than incremental socialism, slow socialism. And as I said earlier in the show today, that Dr. Vieira at the NHCCS event last Sunday spoke at length about it, about the administrative state and the beginning of tyranny. The administrative law at the federal level of 1946 has now finally made it to the presidential campaign level. We've asked several of the candidates that same thing. What would you do? Because I think you've hit upon something really important. Because we see the executive branch morphing to the administrative branch, and they are making all kinds of rules.
Yep.
And you look at them and go, is this a law without representation? And even though it was duly passed and signed, I've wondered the last year or so, is it actually constitutional? You could be setting constitutional precedents in this, because if it's the State Board of Education that is saying what this is, trying to misuse a RSA, but in a sense it really is the board that's saying you can't do this, you could use that as an argument to say, hey, we are a distinct legal entity. We don't have to listen to you. Wouldn't that be novel?
Right, they are, in fact. The school board is, in fact, an elected representative body, and the Board of Education is not.
Correct.
The Department of Education is not. And so there's all kinds of fun to be had with this case, right?
If you so desire to have
If you so desire, which is why they have Chuck Douglas arguing instead of me, right? Because I would walk in, and my first statement to the court would be, so you, the judge, and you, the prosecutor, you're all paid by the same people, right? So is that not a conflict of interest? How am I supposed to expect justice here, right? If I went to General Motors and General Motors ran a court that judged whether they'd been negligent, it would be ludicrous.
It'd be
right?
like the NFL.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's have the NFL be its own. Yeah, well, you didn't like our decision. We'll just act as the arbiter.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Right. So it's ludicrous, just on the face, to say we're going to ask one part of the state to rule on the limits of power on another part of the state, which is it's not even within light years of what you would call justice.
This is where it does become very important, because you look at on the federal level, the IRS tax courts. You look at the EPA and the administrative judge, and we can probably go through entity after entity where
all the
they
way
are
down
both
to police departments investigating themselves.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
You think that we,
like the Department of Justice.
We'll look into that, and we'll let you know, right? The FBI with investigating 7,000 shootings over 20 years, not one mistake.
Yeah, but you look at it when the EPA says
that's training.
Our rules say that you can't do this, and you can't take it to the regular court. You have to come to our court, and by the way, it's our administrative judge
Right.
and our administrative prosecutor, and you can't bring this kind of evidence into our court. You kind of got to go, really? And it comes back full circle to what we started off with, which is people listen just because somebody in the state says it is.
Right.
It's like, who made you so powerful and who made you so brilliant just because
Are you
the
king?
governor is signing the front of your paycheck or the treasurer?
Right. But
Really.
this is why I'm so hot to have people look at process instead of content, because everybody who sees the tax evader, he's stealing taxes from little children, they're not seeing the issue, the underlying structural issue, which is you cannot be judge and prosecutor in your own case. without saying any, what am I talking about there? Am I talking about drugs? Am I talking about schools? Am I talking about terrorism? Am I talking about any? I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about everything, right? That's a procedural thing.
Right.
And the thing about procedural things is you fix the problem all at once, which is the only way that a problem like that can be fixed, I think.
Right. And so really, if you look at our case in Croydon, maybe we shouldn't even recognize the court as being able to judge this.
Right, and this is a discussion we've been having. On the one hand, you want to go in and get the judge to say, yes, you're doing the right thing, and then you go, yeah, great, that's cool. On the other hand, by just showing up, you're saying, you, Mr. Judge, have the power to make this decision, when in fact you don't, right? And so I actually wrote something for you guys about this subject, where just, getting people go in and they get court victories, and then they want to hold on to the legitimacy of the court because they don't want to lose their little decision, whether that's about, private schools or about abortion or about anything else. They're just like, I have to believe in the court or this thing goes away.
Well, you bring up probably one of the best things that we can talk about, which is it is about process. How does it go? And can everybody see each step in the government process? Because when the process is known, when it is open, there are no dark corners in which to hide. That is the essence of open and transparent and just. That word from the left that they like to throw around. A just government. That you can't do these crony, let's make it up out of sheer stuff by quoting the wrong RSA and continue with it.
Well, actually there was I think the discussion that, Jody, you had with Chuck Douglas where he said, it's all theory until you get to court and then it's about people. And my reaction is like, that's completely backwards. The whole point of the court should be to decide the theory without knowing who's involved. That's why justice is blind, right?
Correct.
I don't know is this a small district? Is it, a murderer? Is it somebody who...
And it shouldn't matter, right?
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
The whole point of the courts is to say, this is the theory, and you're either inside the theory or outside the theory. To suddenly say, oh, well, I have to take into account this and this and this.
Well, any jury case...
That's what juries are for, though.
Right.
That's not what the judges are for.
Okay,
and this
good.
isn't going to be a jury case.
Right.
The judge is an umpire,
Right.
Should you make it a jury case?
I don't know.
We don't even know what this is
Remember, you're the
yet.
Underwood underdogs. Juries like underdogs.
This is just being
And just
called
bring
on
the
carpet.
puppies so they can go,
Well,
look at me, I'm so pretty.
Right.
We actually have a really good poster child in Croydon. There was a kid who was not performing well in Newport schools. To the point of, in hindsight, depression. We're talking 4th and 5th grade. She just was not performing. And her parents couldn't afford to send her to private school on top of their property taxes. And when school choice came in, they sent her to Montessori. And, oh, my God, suddenly she's thriving there, just thriving. And they couldn't have done it without this thing. Anyway, that's our poster child. We'll tell them that story. And Chuck Douglas asked us for all the stories, like how did all the kids get there? Why did they choose Montessori? So I don't know.
And he's the expert at that game.
He is.
He's been playing it his whole life, and there's nobody you'd want to have better if that's the game you want to play. The discussion we always have is I'm always like, do you even want to play that game? Right, which is a much riskier stance to take, and it's why she's on the school board and I'm not. Because if I were on the school board, I would be saying, citing your own letter here, AG, you're saying you can't guarantee an education, you can only guarantee an opportunity for an education. And there's another RSA which actually says, almost unbelievably, the state determines that the cost of an adequate education is like $3,500.
Period.
And it's like, if I'm on the school board, I'm like, I'm going to spend $3,500 on you. Here's a computer. Here's a fast internet connection. You now have the opportunity to become educated. Nobody can stand in your way. We're done. Next. We'll meet again next year,
Right.
That's it. We're done. So that I make her look like, a moderate.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, that might be good.
No,
Work to your advantage.
So extreme that a member of the Free State Project board looks moderate. That's a great tagline for you, Ian.
Right. It's not even extreme. It's just literal. Look,
is,
you wrote the laws. I didn't write the laws. You're the one who said an education costs $3,500. Why are we spending $15,000?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
going back to the process, how good can the process be when the Board of Education can't even quote the right RSA?
Yeah.
Well, right, and that gets to the whole void. Yes, it's they either they can't read it, or they don't want to read it, or they just don't understand it. Would be my second thing. Would be in any appellate court, if this ever went to an appellate court. If you had a decision that was like 2-5 or 3-4, your next comment, my next comment would be, look, you guys have all been to law school, and you can't agree on what this law means. This law is void for vagueness. You have to throw it out. All these RSAs, because if you guys don't know what this means, how am I supposed to know what it means? How's a school board supposed to know it? How's anybody supposed to know what it means? And how can you hold somebody accountable for breaking a law that isn't even clear enough
and
that you guys...
And this is where I throw out
can
my
say what it
obligatory, when I was an undergrad pre-med kind of person, taking microeconomics and spending a whole hour with an education major trying to teach her y equals mx plus b. I mean, it fits right into this story with the school board quoting the wrong RSA.
Wow.
Well, studies have shown that education majors, if they become teachers, are generally in the lower third of the SATs. Not as rigorous as, say, engineering.
So if you
or
can't teach
STEMs.
No.
Right. But the AG presumably is a lawyer, has gone to law school, passed the boards,
The
or
bar.
the bar
Yeah.
exam, right? And so, you have to sort of assume that...
Well, the lawyers, but we're talking about the Board of Education.
Right.
They're
But,
filled
I mean...
with education people.
and so, again, looking through the Constitution, just sort of being surprised every time I pick that document up, the New Hampshire Constitution, the part that says that the legislature can enact and constitute courts. And they say the purpose of that is for the courts, they can enable the courts, essentially allow the courts to take depositions, affirmations, do whatever they want to better find out the truth, which is not what the AG is doing. She's not trying to find out what is the actual law. She's taking an advocacy position, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
And again, there's a conflict of interest there. It's in her interest to have a big state, and so to let her say anything about this is, she should just have to recuse herself. This should be decided by somebody who doesn't have a dog in the race. So, I mean...
Next time, bring your dogs.
Right.
Right. It's funny. We were accused. So 3 of the 3 school board members, 2 of us do not have kids in schools. One of us doesn't have kids, me. The other one homeschools his kids. And so we were accused of not being appropriate to be on the school board. We have an agenda that we want to do and blah, blah, blah. But if you look at that, really, it's the parent of the child in the schools who has the conflict of interest because they're making decisions based on what's best for their kid and not more in general, more objective.
Right. Yeah, you could imagine, you as a judge, you can only listen to cases where you're related to somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had that on the budget committee. You've got an agenda. I said, yeah, my single agenda is that the spending of our town should rise no faster than the average income of the citizen in town. You got a problem with that?
Right, and that's a good agenda. Of course, the FSP has an agenda. This couldn't possibly be only about Croydon. It's about bigger things, and it's like, wow.
Well, it could be like about any student who wants to learn something anywhere in the state of New Hampshire. Could
right?
be about that.
Is that bad?
Yeah.
Right. I'm not doing it for the state of New Hampshire. I'm doing it for Croydon because we have an opportunity, and I care about Croydon. I hope the rest of the... I mean, I get calls from people around the state, from school board members saying, how did you do that? And they want to know. And because the second somebody rules to say it's okay, other places are going to do it too.
Well, all you have to say is,
Exactly.
look, teachers, the taxpayers pay the salaries. All we're doing is putting the parents in charge. You hate parents? Turn it around.
Right, yes.
Because essentially what they're saying is
And we
that...
have to learn to
no,
turn it around.
The state
Yeah.
has to be in charge, or the school boards have to be in charge, or the unions have to be in charge, or the teachers have to be in charge. And it's everything except the people who actually have the responsibility for the kids in the schools, which is the parents.
That's
So
it.
if you want to be unfortunately, we are reduced at times to be using the language of the left. Are you anti-parent?
Yeah.
And they exactly say that, well, they don't know enough
Yeah.
about what's good for their...
Yeah.
And it's
And how can anybody else know
it's-
what's good for their kid?
the parents
presumptuous.
are being denigrated. It's
Yeah.
being taught in the schools. I have a close friend that's going through special ed. She is being taught, don't trust the parents.
Wow. Yeah, I believe
Those
that.
damn parents. If they just stopped having kids altogether, we wouldn't need teachers, would we?
We'd be Germany.
Well,
Going back to the beginning of the program.
the irony there, of course, is that you're too dumb to make decisions for your own child, but apparently you're smart enough to make decisions about who should make decisions for your child.
Right.
Yeah.
Voting.
You know, I
right,
mean, if you're
yeah,
going to be
exactly.
disqualified for making medical, legal, and educational decisions, you shouldn't be allowed to vote because you're obviously, you
stupid.
should be a ward of the state.
Yeah, but at that point they'll say, yes, maybe we should license you to be able to have kids in the first place.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah, right. I mean, but then, the other question to look at is how we fund schools. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it shouldn't be done the way it's being done. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that says it has to be done this way, right?
Nope.
Well, there's actually stuff that suggests that it can't, right?
Exactly.
The whole, where's the two mentions of education in the New Hampshire Constitution? One is
Cherish.
lottery money will go to it, and two, that the legislature shall always cherish
Seminary and public schools. And then you
So,
can't raise
right.
money for religious schools.
Right.
Seminary?
Seminaries,
crazy.
yeah. So, I mean, cherish.
So
who
cherish
knows
couldn't
what cherish
possibly
means?
mean-
Cherish means...
It can't mean you fund them. It can't mean you regulate them. It can't mean you run them.
We love you.
So whatever else, I mean, you can send them flowers, right? That's what
right.
it means.
We're going to have a day for that. We are done. We have run out of time. Thank you so much
And
for coming
we've had
in.
a good time.
And we appreciate you coming in and helping us have a show.
Even though we were late.
Oh, that's okay. All right, this is Grok Talk. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy, Mike Rogers, and, of course, Ian and Jody Underwood. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll be back next week. Goodbye. Grok Talk comes to you live almost every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. You can also listen live at Spreaker.com. If you missed a live show, catch up with the podcast at granitegrok.com, Spreaker.com, on Stitcher Radio, at iTunes, TuneIn, or iHeartRadio, and now on The Rock, New Hampshire's Christian radio station, The Rock, NHCR.com. Grok Talk is a mobile-ready broadcast, so you can listen anywhere, anytime on your PC, laptop, tablet, or smartphone.
Grok Talk.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the speakers and not necessarily those of CNHT, GraniteGrok.com, this station, or anyone else for that matter. In accordance with Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, some of the material in this program is used under the Fair Use provision of federal copyright law. Sound effects were either created by the producers of the program, found free in the public domain, or are covered under Attribution 3.0. Most of the music on this program comes courtesy of Creative Commons licensing from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
Rock.